Hey, what's up? It's Scott, and welcome to the very first edition of What's Bugging You with Scott. Today we're going to be talking about eastern subterranean termites only because they're probably one of the most sporadically dispersed termite throughout the United States. You'll find them more often than you'll find anything else. Not saying that other places can't have termites, there's just more of these. So bear with me as we go through. It's going to be about 8 or 9 minutes. We're just going to kind of go over the characteristics, what you can look for, the basic methods of treatment, and obviously the best ways to keep them out of your house. I have been a professional in pest control since 1993, so going on 30 years, and a lot of that has been dealing with termites and pests such as that. First thing you need to know about termites is they cause $2.2 billion in damage every year in the United States. That doesn't only include the cost of treatment, but the cost of repair. Now, that being said, are termites pests? Are they beneficial? Well, the answer is yes and yes. They're beneficial when they break down wood and cellulose products. So if a tree falls in the woods, we're not going to go there, but if a tree falls in the woods, if it decomposes by itself, it's going to release gaseous emissions into the air, which are going to harm the ozone layer. We all know about that. And eventually we would become a greenhouse planet similar to Venus. As they do break down and decompose the tree through eating it, they therefore get rid of all those gases and you won't have that problem. Now, here's the problem with that. We build our houses out of trees. Now, do termites only eat trees? No, they eat any cellulose product. It can be fibrous, such as a plant, a dead shrub, roots in the ground, a 2x4, the paper on the back of sheetrock. So there's a lot of stuff that we build our houses out of that they can feed on. So you may ask yourself, what's the difference between a termite and an ant? A carpenter ant eats my house too. No, not exactly. A carpenter ant is only going to excavate wood from your home to access a pre-made void. They're very rarely going to go in and excavate a hollow 2x4 if they can move into a readily accessible area between the two studs. Now, a termite doesn't care. That's where they eat. That's their food. You go into McDonald's, you don't leave until you're empty. And that's pretty much what they do. And the reason being is they are a well-defined, well-established insect with a hierarchy and a social organization that is top tier. You can't beat it. Whenever you come across termites in your home, usually the first time people see termites is when they come home from a day of work and they find anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 wingless and winged little black specks crawling around the floor of their kitchen and bathroom. Those are termites. Those are called alates. Those are going to be the swarming future kings and queens of a new colony. Now, what's going to happen is they're going to pair up. They're going to chew each other's wings off and then burrow back down in the ground. In 2 to 3 years, they would have their own established termite colony. Now, do termites such as the alates cause damage themselves? Other than creating more termites, no. Their only job is to go to the top of these swarm castles, which you will usually see at the ceiling line of your home. It's usually dirt emitted out of the wall. And once a right enough condition, whether it be weather, temperature, wind, it triggers them to break open that and fly out. Now, that leaves it for you to come home to find them all across the floor, across your sink, across your bathtub. They're usually dead because they will die within 20 to 30 minutes upon entering, because the air in your home is not as humid as the air outside, and they will dry out. And we'll go over a little bit more here. Now, who takes care of the alates and the swarmers? Well, the workers do. Now, there are several classes of workers. They all have several different jobs. Each one's integral to the survival of the colony. The first termite is going to be the one that chews the actual tunnels. He's going out, chewing the tunnels or galleries and gathering the food and taking it back to the others. You have other termites whose only job it is to come back behind that termite and apply a mud wall or a shelter tube around that tunnel. Now, the reason being for that is termites do require moisture to survive. Any time spent outside of the soil, they are slowly drying out. All the time they are in the soil, they are consistently drawing in moisture to help sustain their bodies. So you'll have a assembly line going of the termites going up chewing the wood. Now, as they get further and further up the stud or the wall or wherever they're going, they will dry out. So what they'll need to do then is, as they're coming back down, other termites whose only job it is to crawl around in the soil and absorb water. They then crawl up the tunnels, exerting that water back into the tubes so that the termites that have been working above it can absorb it on the way down. And they'll do this over and over again. Very rarely will you find termites living above ground without contact to the soil unless there is a specific condition like a wall leak or a roof leak, which allows moisture to be trapped upstairs, and they can draw moisture off of that, which would need to be fixed as well, because that can create a secondary carton colony, which may not be treatable with a traditional termite treatment. Now, on top of all that, guess who's at the very bottom? You wouldn't think they'd be at the bottom, but to me as a technician, they are. The soldiers. The soldiers' only jobs are to protect everybody else. And when there's an attack on the colony, a termiticide is applied, they're the first ones there. And they're usually the first casualties. Now, the best thing about that is when they're gone, there's usually nothing else to protect the colony, nothing to tell them not to go a certain place. And then eventually all of that will track back to the queen. And is it going to kill one queen? Maybe. But termite colonies have multiple queens. So if you kill one, odds are there's probably 200 or 300 sitting off to the side just waiting for that pheromone trigger that tells them to molt into a reproductive royalty. So that's always one thing to keep in mind. You're not just killing one and killing all of them. It is a vast, I mean, they can number anywhere from 20,000 to 2 million and then have several colonies that will integrate into each other. Now, when it comes to treatment, there are several ones. You can treat the spot if you know exactly where they're coming up and treat a 5 to 10 foot area on either side of that spot with a good soil treatment, then you're probably good. Am I going to recommend you do the whole treatment? Every time. Not because I'm a pest control operator, but because I'm a homeowner. I know that just treating them in one spot does not guarantee that 35, 40 feet over there may not be another issue or a whole completely separate colony that wasn't affected by the first treatment. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. Whole treatments, although they are a little bit more expensive, may in the long run save you money in repairs and future treatments. The warranty alone usually will cover any further treatments in the future. Now, that being said, I do work in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So if you are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and are having any questions regarding termites or any other pests, please feel free to contact me at our company. It's Mid-Cities Pest Control, 817-354-5350. Or you can also reach us toll free at 1-800-354-BUGS. And do remember that, pardon me, get excited when I talk about termites. So we just need to keep a vigilant eye around the perimeter of your home. Always keep your foundation exposed. Always have decent access to your plumbing. If you don't have access to your plumbing in your showers, I suggest you look at getting one. They're very cheap. You can cut a square, put a $5 vent over it. It saves you trouble down the road of finding it when you have another issue. So I think that is going to conclude this first episode of What's Bugging You with Scott. Hopefully it was very informative. We're going to do a lot more of these down the road. Different insects, different species, different problems. If you guys have any suggestions, feel free to call me or message me. The information will be in the description below. I appreciate you sharing your time with me, and we will see you again next time.